So 561 Music now has a hotline. You can call us anytime at 561-203-9122 and ask us any questions you like. Some humorous ones or something about the guests we've had on the show, or questions about gear, or questions about the festival, or anything you like. It's, of course, 561-203-9122. We would love to hear from you. We did a pretty fun little message, so you get to hear that too. Even if you just call up to listen to me and Hector trying to do a good phone message, that's a good enough reason. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you, so please get in touch. Hi guys, I know everyone says this on every YouTube channel, but please, could you like and subscribe to 561 Music Podcast? It's a local music podcast, and all we're trying to do is help local musicians get some exposure. So if you could like it, subscribe it, and also hit the notifications button on the episode, we would really, really appreciate it. And if you're feeling generous, you could subscribe to the Spotify as well. Thank you.
Take it by the scene, it's what we're doing. Come and check it out, it's what we're all about. 561 Music!
Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
Shut up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. My name's Hector.
So one of the games we play in the van, and now I say it out loud, I realize that that I'm kind of like an abused wife or something.
Right? It's not really a game. You're like, I mean, it's a game to James and I, but like,
yeah, I know.
You're just kind of there.
I'm like the fall guy. So yeah, I'll say something and you guys will be like, shut up. So that's the game.
I mean, I think it's fun.
Yeah, so do I, and I don't know what that says about me at all. But yeah, so we've got this weekend we played twice at Patty Mac's.
We did play twice at Patty Mac's. Friday we played, my wife's law firm had a little get-together party or whatever at Patty Mac's, and so we played for that, and it was packed, man. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah.
They were doing the conga around the room.
Man, I'll tell you, them lawyers can drink.
Yeah. No, it was wild, dude. It was a lot of fun. And then the Saturday night one was good too.
That was good too, man. It was a good time.
So I don't know. Patty Mac's, man, it's our spiritual home. It always seems to work out for us there.
I mean, we should just be the house band there every weekend.
Yeah, right. Just give up like doing any other gigs and just play at Patty Mac's all the time.
You know, for $10,000, I'm sure.
And then in the afternoon on Saturday, James and I played at the Square Grouper, which was pretty fun, but boy, was it hot.
I'm sure it was.
It was that weird thing where it almost feels like you're just walking around underwater. You know, when your skin is just slick and it's just, yeah.
I've been doing a lot of stuff around the house and everything, like, you know, fixing my gate and just things like that around the house. And man, I'll tell you, it sucks. I walk outside. I start at like 7 a.m. because I don't want to be out there at noon. And then by like 10 a.m., it's like I'm walking around in soup. You know, it's just thick outside. It sucks.
For real. And if anyone's listening to this and is not from Florida, sure, it's sunny all the time, but the summer is crazy.
It's brutal.
It's crazy.
Are you guys doing the every other Saturday grouper all through the summer too?
Yeah.
God bless you.
I know, yeah. Thankfully, they have a pretty big fan on the stage, so it's
wear
not too bad.
Shorts, man.
Yeah.
Or wear a thong.
I know. I think maybe it's because I moved here when I was 30 or something, but I just have this weird thing about shorts. Like I feel like I look like a little boy. Like a
you probably do.
I know. Yeah.
I hate wearing shorts, but I do it now when I'm working out in the yard and stuff, just because it's so damn hot.
Yeah, it's fair. And then on Tuesday we played. Was it the first one? It was the first.
It was.
Yeah. So Sally Fox has been doing these. Has set up.
Has started, yeah.
Yeah, an original night, which is twice a month. So her band is going to play on the 1st and 3rd.
Yeah, and they're doing it, it's Fox and Foes, and they're doing it as a jam. So they play for like the first part of the night as the band, and then they invite musicians to come up and play with them for the second part of the night. So they're
cool.
doing
It's like a jam.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's like a jam that they're hosting 1st and 3rd Tuesdays of the month at Double Roads.
Yeah, nice. And then on the 2nd and 4th, we're helping book original bands, and there's going to be 2-3 bands play and all original music, and we did the first one on Tuesday. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, did it with the Coppertones. Love those guys, man. They're so much fun.
They really are. They're the real deal.
Yeah.
You know, someone was asking me where they were from, and I was like, Fort Lauderdale, and they were like, really? How are they from Fort Lauderdale? They don't sound like a Fort Lauderdale band. Sound like, they're from the mountains somewhere in the Appalachians. It sounds so good. I've always loved those guys, and they put on a great show.
Well, and it's funny because my neighbors were there, and we were chatting it up and stuff, and they were talking about how great they were and everything, and they kept talking about Dylan and what an amazing bass player he is, and how he's doing all the slapping and all the techniques and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh man, they went first. I got to follow that.
Yeah.
And then I got up there and we got off the stage, and James was like, damn, son, you turned it up tonight. I'm like, I had to. I couldn't let Dylan show me up like that.
I love how competitive you are, and it works in our favor.
It does, man.
Yeah.
I went like nuts that night, man. I was like, seriously, I definitely like turned up the heat a little bit on the.
That's cool. And I could see you were pulling some moves too.
I was trying to. I was watching Dylan. Well, I was watching Dylan when they were playing, and he was doing this cool thing where like he was playing, and sometimes because I've done it before where like I'm playing and like if the song gets a little soft, I kind of lay the bass down a little bit, and then when it starts going fast, I pop it back up again. But he was doing this cool thing. Like I always laid it down, and it was like like on top of you guys or whatever. He was doing this thing where he would like sweep the pin with his foot, and it would like kick out and then land on its side basically, and then he'd play it down low, and then he'd sweep it back up again. I was like, I kind of want to do that, but I don't want to do it right now because then it just looks like I copied him. So I'll do it at the next show when he's not there.
Yeah, there you go. Sweep that pin.
Yeah, man. So if you watch our next show, Dylan, that's an original move. I didn't copy it from you.
He won't mind. And we were talking to them about maybe doing some more shows with double header type shows and getting down to the keys with them and stuff.
I think that'll be fun, man.
Yeah, for real. We've never really
we're a
played
good fit with them because they play a lot of like similar feel stuff, but different enough,
Yeah.
We're different enough that, it definitely, I mean, they have the upright bass and the guitar and whatever, but I mean, they've got Stephanie singing, and she's amazing. And so they've got the female front vocal thing going on, and we don't. So there's that difference. And then they don't have a banjo. We do.
Also, they're much more kind of like that Wood Brothers kind of, Appalachian-y kind of.
Very much so.
Old country kind of bluegrassy type of sound.
Yeah.
And we have all this sort of Celtic influence. So the actual music that we play is very different.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between us, but we're very different, enough that it's a nice compliment.
Yeah. The aesthetics are different. So, I know what you mean. So it's exactly similar enough, different enough.
Yeah. No, I mean, we complement each other, but it's a nice, it's nice. It's a nice fit. The two bands fit well together, and this is. We played with them at the Barkback benefit as well, and I love playing with these guys. They're fun.
Yeah,
they're fun, and it
when
works
they came
for
on the
us.
podcast, they were great. At the risk of blowing an enormous amount of smoke up their butts, they were like one of my favorite bands.
I locked them in for 561 Music 3.
Excellent.
Well, because I tried to get them on the first one. And they were already booked because I snoozed and I waited till like 30 seconds before the show to like book everybody.
Yeah.
And then on the second one, I was like, I'm going to be proactive. And then February rolled around and suddenly I was like, oh, I didn't book anybody yet. So now I'm starting early. I've got 2 acts locked in already.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
I think that this time, we'll get a nice head start on it, isn't it? Yeah, it's definitely the way to do it. So we have a man wearing a purple suit over there to my left.
The Joker.
Looking super dapper. Yeah, and like a Batman villain. How's it going, Dominic?
It's going great, guys. How are you?
Yeah, very well, man. Very well. Thanks for coming.
Fantastic.
Yay.
So, you've been on the show before, and we've asked you all the kind of standard questions. I think that, maybe this time it'd be fun to sort of mix it up a little bit. And I think the question that I had that I'm really curious about is I wanted to ask you about the marrow in my bones and kind of start there.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done a lot of talking about that album. Where did you record it?
So the marrow in my bones, funnily enough, last time I was on the show, I couldn't say too much about what was going on behind the scenes because of like fear of lawsuits and stuff. But now I don't like those people, so screw them.
Oh, there you go.
At the time, the Marrow in My Bones was made during like the lockdown period of COVID, and
Right.
so what had happened was there was this label, and they reached out to me and a couple other people, essentially saying like, "Hey, we'll put $10,000 behind an album for you."
Yeah. Sounds fancy, doesn't it, when you hear that?
Sounds amazing, and sounds fishy as well. So I went in with a healthy dose of skepticism, but essentially it became a send us your stems sort of thing. So it was like okay, well, I've been doing this up until that point. I've been doing it for 2 years, just me acoustic. So I just recorded the acoustic to a metronome, did the vocal takes, and sent those. And then
that's how they did it.
yeah, and then we had like hired guns, like studio musicians play the rest of the parts and stuff.
And so that's where the budget was going to these people you never met?
As far as I know,
Right.
It very well could be one very talented multi-instrumentalist, doing everything. I don't know. But that was kind of thing. And like I had a say in how the album came out and how it sounded and stuff. But that say was definitely not 100%.
Gotcha. Do you like the way it came out?
I'm very disjointed with it.
Okay.
There's parts of me that really like it for what it is. It was definitely a very experimental time. It was the first sort of real professional recording that I had done, or at least the first recording that I was treating as professional.
Yeah. When you did the stems, how did you do those? Did you do them at your house? Or?
Yeah, so I have a basic knowledge of, obviously a room that has 4 walls that are made out of concrete should have some padding, stuff like that. So I was able to kind of convert my living room into a makeshift studio, and at the time it was pretty much a hey, don't leave your house or you'll die type of mentality. Like this is very early in the pandemic and everything. So it was like, okay, well, if these 4 walls are my existence for X amount of time, I might as well make it into a studio. So that's how it came out, and there's been talk about going back and re-recording it the way that we play it now, because like when we play it now, a lot of the songs are very different in the arrangement, and there's been talk about going back.
Who's in your band these days? It's Ricky.
So yeah, Ricky Boulafay's on the drums, Rocky Rucker's playing bass, and I've since switched. When we do the full band, instead of doing the acoustic, I just play electric at the moment.
Okay.
So we're doing it as a trio at the moment. Andy Johnson, of course, wants to be my guitar player, but we'll see. We'll see. He's got to practice a little bit.
Oh God, I love that guy. He's got to be in every band. I love him.
Yeah.
So when you're playing electric guitar, I have been noticing on social media and stuff like that you've been getting kind of stressed out about tone. Have you managed to figure something out?
Yeah, hunting like a distortion that does what I need it to do has been pretty tough. I started when we first went with me playing electric. I had like a Telecaster laying around, and I started playing with that. And the single coil thing was something I wanted to love.
I feel that,
but it just couldn't do what I needed it to.
I see you with a hollow body.
Yeah, so that's where I built a Tele Deluxe.
Oh,
and
that's what
or a Tele Thin Line.
My
I believe.
Sonic Boom 6 guitar is a Tele Deluxe, and with the humbuckers on it, and I love that. I've been recording with it all week. I still love it.
Yeah, it's great. And so like the one I built, it needs some. I still need to learn how to like properly set the neck and all that type of stuff. It's playable, but I wouldn't use it for recording yet. But then I just picked up the new line of the Squire. So the Squire Bullet series, where it was like the Bullet Strat, the Bullet Tele, the Bullet Mustang. Yeah. It's been around since like I think '89 was when the Bullet series came out.
Yep, I know the ones you mean.
Like that was my first Strat, was a Bullet, and it was garbage. But 30 years later, and now they're out with the Sonic series, which is essentially replacing the Bullet models.
Gotcha.
So I grabbed one of the Sonic series Mustangs, and it's probably one of my top 3 favorite guitars I've ever bought.
Nice. What pickups is that? Has that got a humbucker in it?
Yeah, dual humbuckers. And like it's just amazing to see how far these entry level guitars have come.
Yeah, I
you
feel
know?
that.
Totally. It's a revelation that in the past 30 years they've been able to advance technology to a point where they're able to make a cheap guitar that is still very playable.
Yeah, my son's got a couple of those Squires. He's got a, I want to say he's got a Jaguar and possibly a Mustang. They sound amazing. They sound amazing. I mean, he's tweaked a couple little things here and there, but even out of the box, they sound amazing.
So one of the big sellers for me on getting the Mustang was Ricky, who of course plays for Guitar in the Shake, and he was telling me, he's like, it's my favorite guitar. I love it. I want to get another one and all this stuff. And I'll never forget, we were in Washington D.C. and someone came up to. I always get like mistaken as somebody in the Shake whenever we're on tour. Yeah. So they'll come like I've had people come up and tell me like, "You were great on the drums tonight, man." I was like, "Thanks, buddy." But this guy came up to me and Ricky and just goes, "Man, I can't believe you guys played such a great show on such crappy instruments."
Oh, damn.
And it was just kind of like, "Thanks, man." But
I think thanks.
yeah, but that was like a point where I was kind of like, maybe these Squires. It's definitely more budget friendly than buying anything made by Fender, even the low quality Fender stuff, especially for our purpose, which is mainly to take it on the road. I'm not gonna get a Gibson Hummingbird and then take it on an Amtrak tour when my $400 Hummingbird's doing just fine.
Yeah. No, totally. I suppose in my head, when I'm thinking about your music, the reason why I said hollow body is because. You just you get that fullness, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That those kind of like low mids that just kind of like pack it out a little bit, like almost like a little bit of the acoustic guitar quality, But then, so did you manage to figure out the overdrive situation?
So I switched out from I did a few different pedals. I started with the DS1, got rid of that quickly, stayed with that same clipping circuit with getting an MXR custom badass,
right, and
it still wasn't doing what I wanted. So then I was like, all right, well maybe I'll go the route of the tube screamer, but as opposed to getting just an Ibanez tube screamer and then having to get multiple ones of them, I got the plumes, which is essentially 3 tube screamers in one pedal. It has a little switch that switches between them. That's been really cool and it's been really fun. I've used it live I think 3 times now. Right. But as far as bringing it into like a recording setting, it has been a lot of fun because I can be like, okay, well I want to do a left and right pan on these guitars. Yeah. Now instead of having to like pretend that it's going through a different amp or something, I can just switch that little switch get a whole different clipping setting for the tube screamer. Yeah, and it sounds great.
That's rad. What I use is I've got a tube screamer, one of those new ones that has actually got that little tube in it. I've got that, and then I've got an Electro Harmonix slapback delay that has gain on it. Right, and so I kind of just balance between the two of those, and between the two of those I get what I want, and then when I go into so my situation is really weird because I've got those little switches on my guitar, which are basically bypasses, bypasses for pieces of my pedal board, and when I'm doing like a sort of normal gainy bit or like a less loud solo, I just use the tube screamer with the slapback delay, and then when I want to do like a more of a ripping solo, I turn like my main delay on, but one of the pedals I have on that side has another gain, so I can kind of make that even slightly louder. You know what I mean? There's so many ways you can do this stuff. I mean, it's just never ending. But yeah, tube screamer, man. Like what I like about that one is it has a little dial on the corner that it seems to. It changes how the gain structure works. Right. So if you have it all the way to the left, it's like it's almost like a volume boost that gets a little bit dirty. Then if you have it all the way to the right, it's like it's a distortion pedal. Right, right. It's pretty cool. you know, I don't think I've had an overdrive pedal that I've liked as much as this one so far. Remember when I put that post up and I was asking everyone about it? But I mean, it was really just for kind of personal interest, because I'm super happy with that with that one.
I've never really been a giant like gearhead. Like even when I was a kid, like someone like I would love seeing pictures of like Kurt Cobain, and it's literally just like the DS1 just on the floor. Yeah, you know. And I did that for a long time. Like when we did, and
he has that chorus. I think there was two, wasn't there? It was like
I saw one, and that it almost looked like somebody was saying in
like
one of the pictures
or something, of course.
There was like a black box that almost looked like a blues breaker pedal, but it wasn't. I don't know what it was, but it was not a blues breaker.
He played, if I'm not mistaken, he played like one of those big muff pedals or something at one point.
Yeah,
could have been that.
Yeah, I think two pedals, right? You had a distortion pedal and then some kind of wet pedal, like a chorus or a phaser for stuff like right for those bits.
But yeah, I was never like too crazy about like pedal boards. I actually just posted a picture today of one of like the first pictures of me playing in front of people, and it was in like a high school. My high school put on like these concerts, and we finally got on one. And I looked at my board in that picture, and it's like a legit powered board and everything, but I'm looking at all the pedals and like they're all off. Like there's like a wah pedal that was not touched. There's That's like funny. A flange pedal that was not touched. It was just the DS1 on and off.
That's funny, man. I've never played I don't know, as a bass player, I've always played clean. I've like very rarely have I used any pedals, and I think with the Nirvana tribute, that was probably the first time I ever actually even used any pedals, and it was only because
you have an overdrive pedal for that?
It was a Rat Distortion, and it was only because Novoselic played one of those, so I was trying to emulate that. It wasn't until now, Killbillies, with an upright bass, that I actually have a pedal board with a few pedals on it. It's the craziest thing.
I know, and it's mostly because I just keep giving them to him.
Yeah. It works out though, man. Like it keeps me from getting a lot of feedback and stuff. So
totally.
Well, that's like one thing too with Rocky, coming on. Rocky joined the band when we were recording for Life, and when he came on board, he was pretty immediately like, this is the quad cortex, and this is going to change your life.
Yeah, they're cool, those things.
And that's where, like, for a solid, like, 7 months, I thought it was called the quantum cortex. Somebody said that. Be. And that's where I'd been calling that. And, like, finally Ricky was like, are you calling that as a joke? I'm like, no, it's the quantum cortex. It's like, no, it's the quad. So for 8 months, I knew it as that.
It should be called the quantum cortex. I'm going to start calling it that just in solidarity.
It's pretty much like, I figured like quantum cortex, it's out of this world.
Yeah.
But that thing is sick because, Rocky's been able to emulate not only different amps, but different speakers.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
Effects. And it's just been crazy. That was, so the first Amtrak tour was in January. And
tell us a little bit about that.
So the Amtrak tours it was just an idea that I had during lockdown. I was like, how could I tour cheaper and in a more scenic way that kind of complements the storytelling aspect that I'm working with. And the Amtrak tour seemed possible. And then this opportunity came up in January where we went up to do some recording. It was a live vinyl recording.
Yeah, but before we may as well just take these things one at a time. What happened with this live vinyl recording? I mean, I know about it because but for people who aren't informed, what did you do?
Yeah, so there's a studio up in Brooklyn called Lista Vol, and pretty much what they do is you pre-order these vinyls and you could pick which song of mine you wanted, and we would go in and we would record a unique take of that song for you. So I have a song Broken Finger. I think like 7 people ordered a Broken Finger, so I had to play it 7 times. So there was no duplication. They were just these unique records, 7-inch singles, and it seemed like
one,
I did.
Yeah, it seemed like a really cool idea. It was the first chance I could to get my music on vinyl and stuff, and once that kind of became a thing, it was like, well, we got to go all the way up to Brooklyn to do it. We might as well play a few shows while we're up there. So that's when I was like, I think this is the time to try. the Amtrak tour.
Yeah, cool.
And that's when Ricky and Rocky were able to come for like the first 3 days. I think we were in New York together.
Right.
We did the recording, played a couple shows, and then they left, and I went on with the Amtrak tour. And I did Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine, and I think somewhere else that I'm forgetting.
How long was that tour for?
That was 11 days, I think.
Okay.
But it was really just to see if it was possible.
Sure.
Yeah,
You know, I didn't know how the trains would be as far as like being on schedule. How
Yeah,
they
what
would
was
be.
that like?
I didn't have any issues. At least not in the Northeast. So I just got back from the West Coast where I tried it for the second time, and that was a little more complicated. So on the East Coast, my longest train was maybe 4 hours.
Okay.
On the West Coast, my first train was 17 hours.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was a little bit different.
The Wild West. It's
Yeah.
a different deal. So one of the things I'm curious about, so of course, because you're a solo artist, all you really need is your guitar, right, and a backpack. But the thing I was wondering about is like when you arrive wherever you're getting to on the train, what do you do then? You get in Ubers?
I try and rely on public transportation as much as possible.
Okay.
And if that fails, if the distance is realistic, I'll walk it.
Okay.
I've had to get a couple Ubers here and there. There was like one big mistake I made in the Northeast where I guess I was playing in Pawtucket, Rhode Island,
Right.
but my hotel was in some other city that was technically still in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
And so there
okay.
was no public transit that went between the two, so I had to get an Uber for that one. But yeah, mainly try and rely on public transportation. Like Connecticut, I learned that all public transportation is free.
Right.
Wow. That's awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, it was
I
really
had no
cool.
idea.
Yeah, and neither did I. I count on like my 325, like most other places, and they're just like, no, dude, you're good. Big cities like like your New Yorks, your Seattles, your LAs, they have metro systems or
Sure,
train
yeah.
systems. New York's was pretty cool. I think it was something like after your first 10 subway rides, which is like 2 days worth, the rest of your week is free.
Right.
So that
Oh,
worked
okay.
out for us on the first tour.
That's great. In London, man, the public transport in London has got so expensive. It's crazy.
So that's
So
where
it is here.
I want to eventually try an Amtrak tour, like Europe edition. I guess I know it wouldn't really be Amtrak. It
Well,
would
dude,
be
I
whatever they call
was
it.
just saying to you, I'd love to come and do some solo shows with you. So maybe it'll be the Europe one that we do together.
I'm absolutely down. Absolutely down. Always looking to be on the road. So.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I haven't done a solo tour in forever. When I first moved to the US, it was my whole thing was I was going to be a solo guy, guitar and singing Frank Turner style, and I went back to England for a couple of solo tours, and it was a lot of fun. But I did sort of find out in the process of doing that I think I thrive with a band,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prefer it like that. I just like having the people around, and I don't know, and I think I just enjoy playing music like that more.
Yeah.
But then it's not to say that I don't like playing solo music, but it being my main thing, it turned out it wasn't really for me.
It's there's two edges to the sword, like I have some of my favorite memories of shows being with the band. On this last Amtrak tour, the few shows that Ricky and Rocky were able to be there, we had an amazing show in Brooklyn on like a Wednesday night in this basement venue called Heart Bar. And that was amazing, and it's in my top 3 shows. But then I've also had like the 561 Music Fest is a great example. Like the first year, that
Yeah.
solo show, and then the second year, the full band show. Those are, I don't know which one was better.
Yeah,
They
dude.
were both amazing.
So when you were doing those shows, and then you had to disappear off to do the rest of the Amtrak tour, what were you playing? Were you playing an acoustic guitar or an electric?
So I think I meant to get to this point and forgot. When we got to New York, originally, Billy Doom from Billy Doom Is Dead was going to come play guitar so that it would be on the recordings. And he wasn't able to make it pretty last minute. And so what happened was we flew to New York, where I brought my acoustic, and I had my DS1 in my backpack, and we
Okay.
landed in New York and went straight to Guitar Center, and I bought Kramer, which is now owned by
Yeah.
Gibson. Kramer had this little one pickup Strat style body. It was, I think, like $299 or something. Bought it, played the 3 shows, returned it.
You legend. There you
And
go.
it was a joke, and it's in the Amtrak tour diaries on my YouTube where it was hard to let it go. Like I was
Yeah.
trying to find a way to bring it home, specifically this one too, because it played great and it sounded really good. But it would have ended up costing me more money to take it on with me for the rest of the tour than
Sure,
it would have
yeah.
even been worth. So had
No,
to let
that-
it go.
That's some good skills, and I think part of the reason why brick and mortar businesses really struggle these days because everyone gets everything online, and you can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there. I've done it.
We did on the Billy Doom tour that we just did. It was the Shake, Billy Doom is Dead, and us, and we played at Ollie's in Cape Coral, and
Yeah.
we had an acoustic opener, and he was giving us this speech about doing your part to fight capitalism, and he said,
Oh, wow.
"I bought this guitar today, and I'll be going to return it tomorrow morning and fight capitalism." And I was like,
geez.
"Hey, man, he believes in something, and he's going for it."
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Dude, I've been there. I get stuff. I get, like, as an artist and everything, I there's certain tools and things that I need creating my 3D pieces and stuff, and some of the stuff that I use is expensive, and I find that I'm not doing as many pieces as I used to, so I don't want to have like expensive equipment sitting around that I don't really need that often. So I literally just ordered something from Amazon this week, and it was the 3rd time this calendar year that I've ordered it. And the other 2 times I returned it like as soon as I was done using it, and I'm probably going to do the same this
That's
time.
pretty funny. You know what you're not doing though. If you have stuff delivered back and forth, you're not respecting Mother Nature because of all of the Amazon drivers going back and forth.
But maybe I'm respecting Amazon drivers.
So
There you go.
I just got yelled at yesterday by a guy because of the environment. Ironically,
Really?
yeah, this guy, I've seen him before in our neighborhood. He comes around on his little electric scooter, and then he tries to sell you on solar energy, solar panels.
Oh yeah, like I keep doing.
So but like him and his buddies, like they work at this company and they've been around. What feels like 10 times in the last like 2 weeks.
Oh no.
And so
That's knowing you, that's gonna make you never get solar panels.
well, and so the guy starts pulling up, and I was like grabbing my mail, and I'm kind of ignoring him and getting ready to walk into my house, and I'm shuffling through the mail, and I hear him behind me, going, "Sir, can I talk to you over here for a second?" And I said, "If you're trying to sell me something, I'm not interested." And he goes, "Well, I'm not really trying to sell you anything." And he goes, "I want to talk to you about solar energy." And I'm like, "Then you're trying to sell me something." And he goes,
Yeah.
he gave me the whole spiel real quick about you don't have to put any money down and blah, blah, blah. So you're not really buying anything. And I'm like, "Look, brother, I don't want any solar panels. I didn't want it before. I don't want it now. I'm not going to want it later. Stop coming around the house."
Yeah.
And
but we've had conversations about it in the past, and you are curious about it. But this guy,
guy was annoying me. So as he gets on his scooter, his little electric scooter, starts pulling away, I said, "Stop coming around." And he starts pulling his scooter, and I go, "And tell all your buddies to stop coming to my house too, man. I'm not going to buy solar panels." And he yells back at me, and he's like pumping his fist at me and stuff. He yells back, and he goes, "I'm never going to stop, not until I save the environment one solar panel at a time." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And then he goes, "And maybe one day you'll come around and save the environment too." And I was like, "Oh God, see, now
bless his
I
heart.
want to buy solar panels because I feel really bad."
I know that was maybe the most adorable way you could have.
It was
dealt with
pretty
it.
funny, dude.
Yeah.
I felt like a Scooby-Doo moment,
End of a John Hughes movie where he's just like fist in the air.
Seriously, man.
I
was
did
like-
it.
That's great. So the West Coast version of the Amtrak tour. When did you do that?
So that was this past May, and
I think we got a couple of pictures of that actually. We could bring up.
So that's my guitar case outside of, I want to say that is Union Station in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Are these all stickers from your tour?
So that's there's a lot of them that are from tour. Like I can see the Buc-ee's one from here, all the different
Look, there's a
states and
Killbillies one.
stuff. There's a Killbillies one.
See Maximum
Got a
Friction
Maximum
on there.
Friction. There's
Yeah.
probably a couple Shake ones on there. This case also, funnily enough, this was a replacement because Spirit Airlines broke the case that I had before this, and they wouldn't replace it because they said that I signed a waiver saying they didn't have to fix music instruments. And I said,
Right.
well, you guys didn't break the instrument, you broke the case. And that didn't fly with them. So I had to buy a new case. But yeah, so that was the start of the first train of the West Coast Amtrak tour, and I had to go from Los Angeles to Redding, California, which was that was a 17-hour train ride.
Wow.
From
Where is Reading? Is it north?
North California.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Northern California.
Reading is about 40 minutes away from my mum and dad's house in England.
Right. That's the better Reading.
That's the better
well, I guess that's debatable, but that's the other Reading.
So you were talking about the case got broken. Do you check your guitar? Or do
Yes.
You, really?
Yeah. So I checked the guitar.
I'm surprised. Most people just bring it on.
I've had more issues bringing it on than I have checking
It depends on the size of the guitar. That's kind of a big case.
It's also Spirit Airlines.
Right.
For instance, when we tried to go up in January, we flew up to New York, and Rocky wanted to bring his bass, which was in a gig bag, and they were not having it. He had
Probably too long with the scale and everything.
Well, it just really depends on the guy you get. You know,
Yeah.
like it's happened to me a bunch of times where they've let me on, and then a bunch of other times where they make me check it. It's kind of like you just play your cards and you see what happens.
Yeah, so that's actually why. So this case, it's not really a flight case, but it's not made of wood.
Sure.
It's made out of a hard kind of carbon fiber, and it's padded pretty well. It also is slightly bigger than a dreadnought body. So extra merch is put in there to cushion the guitar and get my merch to the next place. When I travel on the Amtrak tours, you can't really see them in this picture, but behind the guitar, there's a gray bag, and that's like mainly my clothes and stuff like toiletries and whatnot. And then there's a green bag that is merch and cables.
Okay, so your guitar, and then you got your
Backpack and then a shoulder
another-
bag,
All right,
essentially.
okay.
So that brings up another good question, because when Killbillies goes on tour, you know, we overthink the merch thing, and we're like, we only have, you know, the one shirt design, but we have it in two colors. And so then we're like, oh, we need 15 of each size and each color and all this stuff. And we end up with these 3 or 4 bins of stuff, and we're toting it around. It takes up half the space in the truck and everything. Obviously, you're not doing that. Like, how much merch are you actually bringing with you? And did you find that you ran out of something really fast?
I did run out of. So I bring one of the things I've started doing this past year is sticker packs, where I don't really.
Nice.
I try to not
Nice and
sell.
small.
Yeah, and I try to not sell individual stickers anymore. So I do sticker packs where normally it's like you can get 3 to 5 of them for $5, and I knew that I had new stickers coming, so I was like, I'll just bring them all, and they sold out within. I don't think I had any stickers leaving California.
Yes.
Shirts. I've learned the hard way that smalls are kind of a pointless investment for me, at least.
We've got a ton of smalls left. Yeah. It's always like the shirts we run out of is larges, extra larges, and kind of mediums.
But we're completely out. Usually, but we're completely out of smalls and mediums right now, aren't we? Or smalls and
we
large?
have. Oh right, we don't have any smalls.
We don't have any smalls right now.
Right, so, smalls and larges is the ones. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's weird.
So
it comes in these weird waves.
So I learned I had to get a new backpack because I killed my old backpack on the first Amtrak tour. So this new backpack that I got has a middle compartment, and I learned that I can fit 15 shirts inside of that.
Oh, there you go.
So I do 5 medium, 5 large, 5 extra large.
Okay.
Then I do as many sticker packs. They're small, so that's great. I also had CDs.
Keychains is a good one. Like
Keychains would be a good one.
Yeah. We got a bunch of those made, and people like them. People get them.
like them, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I did.
We
Probably
sell
about
them for $100,000.
You know
Yeah.
what
They're
we're
attached to a
definitely not
Maserati,
doing
so-
right now is fighting capitalism.
That's very true. Very true.
Not even a little bit.
So that's what I brought. But fun. So I do have I guess I don't think we're in America now, so I don't think I can get in any sort of trouble with the Canadian government unless they wanted to extradite me, which would kind of make a great story. I also have a song, and I blatantly use part of the Canadian national anthem, hoping that the country of Canada sues me. So it'd be like Canada versus Dominic Delaney.
That would be
I feel like
pretty
that'd be great.
amazing.
But I did have some border issues for my first international show. So I did like Reading, and I did, after Reading, California, I played Portland, Oregon, which was another cool place. And then after that, I was jumping into Vancouver, Canada before knocking off a couple Washington State shows. And so I got to the border and stuff, and like I don't drink anymore, but I'll smoke every now and again.
Sure.
And I had a grinder in my backpack, and I was just like, I'll just empty this. Like, they're not going to care. They're Canadians. They're barely a country. So I have to get off the train in Seattle from Portland. I get off in Seattle, and you have to take a bus from Seattle into Vancouver.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, whatever. So I hop on the bus. We get to about an hour into this trip, and they're telling us we're at the border, and we got to get off the bus and go through the customs building. And I walked in, and this dog was on me so fast.
Oh,
like,
dude.
I opened the door, and that dog was like, and just made a beeline for me.
What a bummer.
Oddly, like, at no point in this story was I ever, like, there's sometimes, like, when the lights come on behind you and you're driving, you're like, oh, no, it's the cops. Like, I was never in any sort of, like, hurry
Like
or
panic mode or
concern, no
whatever, yeah.
panic. Like, I was way too calm for this entire situation. So they tell me, like, they're going to have to search my bag and stuff. I'm like, okay, no problem. So I go, and I put my green bag on the table and then my gray bag on the table. And then I remember, I'm like, shit. My guitar case is still in the bus, and they're going to think, like, I purposely left it or whatever. So she starts going through my gray bag and finds my grinder, and it's empty. Like, I did empty it and stuff, and I'm just kind of playing, like, dumb American, like, oh, America.
Yeah.
And,
America.
yeah. And she's just kind of scolding me, and then she starts grilling me. She's like, what are you doing in the country? And I was like, I'm visiting friends. And they're like, what are your friends' names? And I was like...
So you can't say, I mean, could you not say that you were playing or anything?
I didn't have any sort of work visa.
You didn't have a work visa. I got you.
I
And that
know
is some
sort of work
bullshit, by
visa.
the way.
Yeah.
That is a guy with an acoustic guitar can't go and play songs to people without a work visa. That is some bullshit. Have you any idea what it's like in Europe right now? If you go from England to mainland Europe, you need to have this carnet that like explains everything you're bringing with you, and you got to pay tons of money. It is insane, and this is all because of Brexit, right? Which is just the most terrible idea on the planet. Anyway, so now British musicians have to like jump through the most insane hoops just to play in Europe, man. And when you think about how small England, that's like Florida musicians having
Right.
to go through the border at
To
the
get
top of
into
Florida.
Georgia.
I wouldn't have thought. I mean, obviously you're getting paid for these gigs, or you're getting a door deal, or you're getting tips or whatever. But I wouldn't have thought you needed a work visa to play a few
Yeah.
tunes, man.
So it gets better. So they ask me, hey, what are you doing in the country? I say, I'm visiting friends. I say, what are your friends' names? The first name that I could think of is my favorite skateboarder, who is from Vancouver, a city called White Rock. His name is Andii Anderson. That's his real name.
Oh, no.
But that sounds like the world's fakest name ever.
John Jimerson.
Yeah, right. And so I told them, I'm like,
John Johnson.
I'm like, oh, I'm visiting Andii Anderson. He's in White Rock. And the lady she's kind of like turned her nose up at me. And then she's like, open your bank accounts. And she wanted me to open my bank accounts on my phone. And now I know, like,
Why?
they wanted to make sure that I had enough money to be in the country and get back without needing to work.
Oh.
But we've just crossed the border. So I don't have any cell phone service.
Oh,
so, like, I'm
no.
trying to open these bank accounts, and they're not opening. And now
But that's dumb. Like you could have credit cards and not have any money.
Yeah, but that they wanted to see everything. And then they're like, open your Instagram. And if my Instagram had loaded, they would have seen that I had the flyer like pinned to my profile up for the show. So they searched my gray bag. They gave me back my grinder. They run like my record, and like the lady didn't even say like you're good to go. She just kind of handed me my passport, and I just left. And like,
Oh, jeez.
but at this point, I'm the only one from the bus that's still being questioned. So like everybody else is like looking inside the building at me.
Yeah,
The bus driver's like looking at me like, and I'm like, go, go, go. So we get on the bus and leave, and as we're leaving, now I'm starting to like have panic because like now I'm like, oh, I just
That
got
just
through
happened.
by the skin of my teeth. And I can't even like text my wife and tell her about it, because of the service. So I get to Vancouver, and I get to the venue, and I'm unpacking, and I'm like, my bag like reeks of weed, and I completely forgot that in Reading the other night at a house show when everybody was buying merch, they'd be like, hey man, I grew this last summer. And so I would just throw it in the merch bag and just completely forgot. So they never searched the green bag.
Ooh, that was close.
And so
The green bag.
The green bag. And you got to imagine that like the dog is
Yeah.
probably like seeing me leave, like looking at the guys like,
He's like,
I told you,
wrong
dude.
bag, wrong bag.
It was
That's amazing.
bananas. And so I got to Vancouver, opened the bag, and sure enough, my backpack was full of weed. And
That's amazing. I have some pretty good stories relating to this, but I'm not going to tell any of them.
yeah, that's where it's like I had considered not telling my Canada one too publicly, but then I wrote a song about it. And I
Yeah,
was
there
like,
you go.
well,
I'm so shocked, man. But there is there's a friend of mine. I did a street painting in Canada. Same thing. I was told I was getting paid for it, but I was told to just say that I was visiting whoever the festival director was or whatever.
It wasn't called Andy Anderson.
And
was
then,
it?
he was
Andy
not
Anderson?
Andy Anderson. He was John Johnson. And so, but there were several of us that were going up for this festival or whatever. But there was a photographer from down here that was going up as well to take photographs and things, and he was getting paid or whatever. And he showed up, but he couldn't, like you had left your guitar back on the bus or whatever. This guy showed up with 5 bags of camera gear, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm just a tourist." And they're like, "No, you're not." And so they actually turned him away at the border and said he could not come in. He had literally flown in, and wasn't even the border. Like he had flown in and was at customs at the airport, and it wasn't Vancouver. I don't remember where we were, but he had to get back on a plane, buy another ticket home, and fly home.
Well,
that day.
the stupid thing? That's terrible. The stupid thing is that the reason why this happens is because there are some people who make a ton of money in the arts and don't claim it or whatever. And then there's people like us who are just trying to go over and play, like a gig for a couple of $100, and then, we just get mashed in with all of that, which is unfortunately you can't just have one blanket rule for these things because I feel like there's got to be tiers.
It should be. It should be almost like the U.S. has all these tax brackets and all these tax tiers, and if you don't make over whatever $600 in an occasion or whatever, you don't have to really claim it and stuff. Things like that. Or you don't have to declare it or whatever. But they should have something like that. If you're going to Canada, if you're not making $1 million off a big arena tour or something,
Exactly.
if you're making a couple $100,
Not like Lil Wayne, going cleaning up.
Yeah, dude.
well, and so one thing that I would have done different now, looking back, now that I'm
Not
also
bring the weed
friends,
with you?
not bring the weed with me.
Okay, 2 things you would have done. Different.
Now I know the people who run the venue that I played at, and the venue was, I wouldn't really say it was like an LMC. It wasn't as nice as LMC. But it had the same kind of idea of wanting to be a home for their community of youth bands, a place where
Was
people
it a
can
little
learn
bit more
and stuff.
kind of squatty, a bit more kind of
Yeah,
community?
a little brick wall and,
Yeah, yeah.
and sort of,
Did
very...
people live there and stuff?
There was an upstairs that I
Yeah,
didn't go
yeah.
into every room.
There's
so.
a lot of places like that in Europe.
And that's where, the name of the place was Bully's Rehearsal Studios. And I didn't think about that at the time. I could have just been like, yeah, I'm not playing a show. I'm going to this rehearsal studio to play with my friends.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
So now I know that, and now I know their names too, so I can use a real name like Victoria instead of Andii Anderson.
Is it Vicky Victoria? though?
Vicky Victoria. And but yeah, that was the first time I smuggled drugs internationally, and
Congratulations.
thank
That
you.
actually went very well.
Thank you. Yeah, 100% right now.
Spectacular.
One for one.
I'm taking notes, man, because I just did a street painting. We talked about this the other day. I did a street painting in Minnesota the other day, and my 3D piece won a prize, and the prize was
I saw this.
I get to go to Colombia in
saw that.
August to do a street painting. So I'm going to Colombia. I got to take notes on smuggling all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah.
So I have to ask you a question. How come you are dressed like a Dick Tracy, sort of like a bad guy. And does it have anything to do with these stickers?
It does. So we announced the. Let's see.
There you go.
There we go.
Yes.
We announced the Andii Styron tour, the Intentions tour, which will be in October. It'll be October 6th to 15th. And the purple black color scheme.
Yeah,
it was kind of something that I've always like. Purple's my favorite color.
Yeah, man. I can relate to that.
I think I pull it off pretty.
You look
well.
like a total badass.
Thank you. This suit was $34.
Excellent.
But yeah, and I wanted to dress up for you guys.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, so we did announce this tour. It'll be going from the 6th to the 15th. Andii had kind of gotten in touch with me and said that she thought it was time for her to start touring, and she didn't really know where to start. And I said, you came to the right place.
I've done this once or twice.
I thoroughly enjoy being on the road. I did tell her, so I have my map, which is I'm trying to play in every state. Right now I'm at 22. And I told her, as much as I love Florida,
It's done.
I'm not always trying to do circles of Florida.
Sure.
So we had to add in some other states. So we're doing South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi before coming back into Florida.
Nice.
He's playing Pascagoula, isn't that where we
Pascagoula.
Yeah, that's where we played.
Yeah,
Where are you playing at Pascagoula?
Jack's on the tracks. Jack's by the tracks.
played? No, our place was like an Irish pub.
Yeah, it was an Irish pub.
Yeah, that's where a lot of these places that I've been finding, like one of the things that's been weird this year about touring is the difference between where we are now and where I was when I started booking DIY tours.
Right.
Like, it used to be like, I'm going to call every single venue in town and try and find somebody and then not find anything and then try a different city.
Yeah.
Whereas now it was like, I was like, oh, I've been to a lot of these places.
Yeah.
Let me just hit up the homies. And then some of the places that I haven't, like Alabama and Mississippi, that was just connections from other people that I've been playing with on the road.
Yeah.
And that's where one of the things about playing in every state, like Hawaii has been a big. I always get asked about Hawaii, like, Hawaii's got to be last, right? Or stuff like that. Which I don't want Hawaii to be last.
I'll go to Hawaii with you.
See, that was like the idea would be that Hawaii would be last, but like everybody wouldn't be able to come. That would want to go to that. So, but in Anaheim, I played at the skate shop on the Amtrak tour, and I shared a merch table with this band from Portland called All Hype. And
we have another picture of your LA excursion. We have a picture of the What's going on with this?
So that's just like living the dream. That is the infamous green bag in the picture. A Domino's.
Is this with or without the weed?
This is probably like just after getting it. This is in Reading.
Oh, there you go.
This is probably right after
I thought
the house
you
party.
mentioned Anaheim. I thought this was in LA, but it's not. Okay.
So this is actually the day after that, because Anaheim, I actually messed up. I had to go to Anaheim after LA. I should have probably done Anaheim first, but
Yeah.
So this was in the hotel in Reading, and this is kind of a snapshot into what it is like during the downtime of an Amtrak tour. Like, this was the first hotel that I had gotten the entire trip.
Must have been nice.
Yeah, it was great. Like, because I stay in a lot of hostels where it's dormitories and stuff like that. So this
There's
was
always like someone having sex, and
of course, and there's just dirty Neils falling from the bunk above you and stuff.
I love that you've got cartoons on the TV.
Yeah, big fan of. It seems like wherever you go in the U.S., if you get into a hotel, you could turn on Comedy Central and South Park's on.
Oh yeah, of course.
So that's always good. But yeah, in Anaheim, I met this band called All Hype, and they're from Portland, but they are from Portland, but were born in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wild.
split their time between the two. And so I tell them about my map, and like we became friendly. They came out to the Portland show, and now it's like we have that connection. Somebody who plays in the Hawaii scene and wants, is friendly with us and says, yeah, that's a great idea. We'd love to bring you.
That's great. That's the way to do it.
And it's happened everywhere we've been.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're on the road, things happen.
Yeah.
Because you meet people.
Yeah.
It
For
can't
sure.
not happen. It's like there's so much more potential energy in a band that's on the road. You know what I mean? Because like every day, even if you just at a gas station, you're meeting new people. You're just not doing your usual little circle of bullshit, you know?
Well, and that's where I think one of the things that I wish I had learned a little earlier in my career was about oversaturation.
Yeah.
Where, you know, especially when it comes to, you know, like when somebody who's a full-time musician is home, you know, I'm still playing music to make a living, but now it's in a different version of whether it being the 3 to 4 hour shows or whatever it might be. You know, now I know those can't be promoted the same.
No.
You know, I used to stick them on my monthly flyer right next to my original shows, but then all of a sudden I'm playing Lake Worth 3 times in a week, you know?
Exactly. A lot of people will have 2 different names, stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of, it's a little tough. I've thought about starting something to do the 3 hour, 4 hour thing, but with playing on the road, I've found that there's something about the fact that you are here for a very finite amount of time. Like you are here for today and tomorrow.
I love that. That's
you
the thing I love about it.
You are on a pirate ship on wheels. You go into town, you mess shit up, and then you leave and you go do it in another town.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, it takes some getting used to for some people, but like for me, it's just, I love it. It's fast paced.
Yeah, I love it too.
You know?
Like I spent like just over 10 years doing that, and it was just the freedom, the feeling of freedom that you get. But it's when you leave, you know, you just, like it's great.
Well, so there's we were talking about Frank. It was only a matter of time until Frank Turner was brought up again.
Yeah.
On the second 3 years, he has a compilation album. There's a song. It's actually a cover, but it's called "The Greatest Day," and it's a song I hadn't really listened to too much prior to this trip, but I found myself like in Vancouver. I had specifically scheduled an off day in Vancouver. And I just remember like walking around downtown, like listening to this song, like bawling my eyes out, like just so happy. Like I was like, this place, like this city's gorgeous. Like I'm literally on the other side of the world right now. Like it was amazing.
Yeah,
and those experiences, it's kind of like there was the Tony Hawk documentary that just came out. It's called Until the Wheels Fall Off.
Right.
And Rodney Mullen, great skater, was on there, and he was trying to explain to people why he skateboards at his age when he knows it's destroying his body. Yeah. And he was saying, he's like, I wish that I could relate the intangibles to you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's exactly it. That's where it's just like when
that is so poetic.
It really is like it's something like even like my wife doesn't necessarily understand that. She's like, you're killing yourself trying, stressing about this stuff and worrying about the stuff on. You know, and I told her the same thing. I'm like, I wish I could relate this to you, but that one moment in Vancouver, listening to that Frank Turner song, bawling my eyes out, that's it. That's worth everything.
No, totally.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, man. Like we did that Kill Billies tour last summer, and that's when we went up to Memphis and everything, and went to Sun Studios. And I probably walked away from that tour thinking like that was one of the hardest things I've ever done. But it was also one of the most awesome things I'd ever done.
Yeah.
Like every night.
To the point where we're doing another one in October. Yeah, it didn't turn you off completely,
but
did it?
No, but it was like, I mean, like every night it was like grueling drive back to the hotel or wherever we were going. Sometimes we were staying, like trying to get to the next spot or whatever, and we were 2 hours away, and it's 2:00 in the morning, and I can't even keep my eyes open, and it's like, it was
and
brutal.
we've all got like minimum 20 years on you over
there.
You know
but
what
it's
I mean?
like,
So
it was
you
like...
start feeling it when you get to work.
It was brutal. And then, trying to get up in the early the next day and whatever and get your day going and stuff. It was brutal. But then there were other times where we had a little time to kill and we we rented like some e-scooters and we were scooting all over town going, this is fucking amazing.
Yeah, totally.
I had a moment on the first Amtrak tour. I played in Boston on a Monday night, and I remember like standing at my merch table before the show and somebody trying to walk in and seeing like the sound guy be like, we can't take any more, we're at capacity, and like hearing that and being like,
oh yeah,
capacity, like on a Monday in Boston. And it was my first ever capacity show.
Sick.
And then the next day Like, I grew up playing ice hockey and coaching hockey and driving
I've seen some
Zambonis and
pictures. You
shit.
look like a total badass.
I was a stud. No, I wasn't. I was so bad. But I was walking around in Boston, and this is January, and I just came across this park, and there's an outdoor ice rink.
Yeah.
And so for the first time in like 5 years, I was able to like skate again. And
Yeah,
I was
dude.
like, I would have if you had told me 5 years ago when I quit my job at the ice rink, the next time I would skate would be in the middle of a tour in Boston after
Yeah.
a sold out show.
Isn't it weird
You
where
know?
life takes you, man? It really is.
It is, and it's something that
I talk to Hector about that all the time. There's no way that he would have thought that he would be like 3 times a week he'd be on stage with a double bass. Like if you told him
Right.
that like 4 years ago, he'd think you were crazy. You know what I mean?
No, if you told me that 4 years ago, I would have like left town and like moved away and never talked to you ever again. And I would have been like, sweet, dodged a bullet.
That's pretty funny. You know what? I'll take this moment of sort of lull in the conversation to send you over to the 561 Music Lounge so you can play us a song. Does that sound good?
I would love to do that.
Excellent.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
do it.
Burned out and broke down on the wrong side of your town. And I'm okay. Don't worry, the night is young. And I can hang for a little bit. But after that, I gotta split. I gotta get to the show. We're trying to have some fun. Turn up with the turnout in the dark corner back lounge. And I'm okay, but I think it might be getting late. And I should find my way home. The best of me left hours ago. Nothing good will come if I stay. But I didn't think that I could fall anymore. I just picked myself up off the floor. I find myself asking what I'm doing this for. I just picked myself up off the floor. Now I'm sure that it's getting late. I spent years making these mistakes, so one could say that I'm a certified pro. And I stumble every now and again, and I lean on my love and my friends. I should really thank you all for helping me grow. But I didn't think that I could fall anymore. I just picked myself up off the floor. I find myself asking what I'm doing this for. I just picked myself up off the floor. Now, as I'm laying on the ground and I'm trying to navigate these thoughts through these sounds, I found there's nothing profound about the ratio of coming up to falling down. And I'm sure that I've been here before, but I didn't think that I could fall anymore. I just picked myself up off the floor. I find myself asking what I'm doing this for. I just picked myself up off the floor. No, I didn't think that I could fall anymore. I just picked myself up off the floor. I find myself asking what I'm doing this for. I just picked myself up off the floor.
561 Music is sponsored by Harmony Management Group. Are you looking for help with your bookkeeping, Tax prep for your music business or other small business? Do you need something notarized? Does your construction-related business need help in protecting receivables? How about a gift basket to say happy birthday, get well, or thank you for your business? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Harmony Management is your solution. After 30 years and 2 corporate jobs, Mary started working her side hustles full-time, and 6 years ago, Harmony Management Group started evolving from a business platform which didn't exist to what it is today, intertwining her 3 passions and creative sparks all from the same office. The past several years, Mary has become the go-to accountant to the local scene's musicians and artists. Need help? Give her a call today at 561-420-5652 or visit harmonymanagementgroup.com. Now, I can personally say that Mary is an absolutely wonderful accountant and she really understands the world of artists and musicians. She's been a huge help to Killbillies, and we are so proud to have her as a sponsor because she really cares about the local music scene and the local art scene. If you need help with the paperwork side of any small business, Mary has got your back. Again, the way to get in touch with her is 561-420-5652, or you can visit harmonymanagementgroup.com.
We are also sponsored by Oasis Root. Now, Oasis Root Carver Bar is in Seagrape Square on Indian Town Road, and it is a carver bar. If you don't know anything about carver, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water, and it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, you know, that brings people together. You all take a shell of carver and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It's has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a carver bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of carver bars. Some of them are more like a club, you know, there's sort of like blacklight and EDM playing. And some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby-foot as they call it in France. And yeah, Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy, and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very, very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Root Carver Bar. 561 Music is sponsored by Live Music Community. It's where we film the podcast that you're listening to right now, and it's also where I work. Gavin, Hector's son, was a student here for a long time, and in many ways he's the musician he is today because of the teachers at Live Music Community. We taught him not only about his instrument, but also about being in a band, and his band, Unemployed Youth, accomplished a lot of goals, mostly band etiquette, how to work together, and all of the nitty-gritty that goes into being in a band on a day-to-day basis. The student signs up for lessons, learns their instrument, joins a real band, and decides the direction it goes in. And we can take people from very young age, 6 or 7 years old, all the way up to 80. There's no age limit here. We run an adult program for people who want to be in a band as adults, but really the main focus is on the kids and getting them playing together and in bands. We are also a studio, a live stream venue, and we can record audio or video. The Killbillies live album, Warts and All, was recorded here. It was recorded during a live stream that we did during COVID. Justin had a great idea to record live streams during COVID. A ton of bands came in, and it was a real success. But outside of that, we can record albums, we can help you with your EPK, and we have full audio-visual capabilities here. LMC is in Palm Beach Gardens on the northwest corner of Military Trail and North Lake Boulevard. It's north of the gas station, right before you get to North Lake on Military Trail. And if you go to livemusiccommunity.com, you have all the information you'll need right there. All right, so we've just been listening to an ad for LMC, which is where we're sat right now, and it's where I work, and I love this place. And I think it's only appropriate that we ask you if you have any advice for up-and-coming musicians.
Yes, I do. I think, up-and-coming musicians, one of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given was, if you want a tour, just go and book one.
Sure.
And that was, like, when I heard that, I was just like, what? Like, you can do that? You don't have to wait for someone to tell you it's okay.
Yeah.
And you don't. You can go home. You could be at home right now, and you can email every venue in a city that you want to play, and 99% of them will say no, but one of them will say yes, and that's the most important one. And just get out, keep playing, keep getting better, and hopefully it'll take you somewhere interesting.
Totally.
Awesome.
I think in the arts as well, it's really important to like tenacity is probably the most important quality. Is just, you're going to fall down, you're going to mess up, things aren't going to work out for you, but it's about when it does, because if you throw enough shit at the wall, stuff sticks eventually. So you just got to keep going, keep trying to do it, keep trying to book venues, and then all of a sudden someone will say yes. A few people will say yes. You got a tour put together.
Exactly. It also brings into question. I have iffy feelings about luck as a concept. Right. I don't necessarily believe in luck.
Sure.
For instance, I've played 370 shows as Dominic Delaney.
Yeah.
If I were to play my show on Saturday night and there be some billionaire who wants to sign me to some billionaire deal, people would be like, wow, that guy's really lucky.
Exactly.
My argument would be, well, I played 370 other shows where that didn't happen.
Exactly.
So how much luck is it as opposed to tenacity?
That's work. Yeah, it's work. No, you're absolutely right.
I believe in luck. Only bad luck, though.
Yeah. Fair enough.
On the subject of the tour, though.
All right, Eeyore.
Right. I did this weekend. Well, we were playing yesterday, Tuesday. We were playing, and James or somebody said something about, you were like, is everybody having fun? And I went, I'm having fun. On the subject of the tour, though, so you've said a couple times about how you reach out to, like 100 venues or something, trying to get that one venue or whatever. How are you, and I know how we do it, but like, how do you find the venues that you're going to email? Is it literally just a search online and trying to find stuff?
So I have a bit of like a process, like I guess you could call it like a trickle down process, where the first and foremost place that I go to, and I've gone to this website since high school, it's dodiy.org, DODIY.org, and it's run by a woman named Amber, and she's the absolute best and nicest person in the world.
And it's not pronounced duty.
No, it's not pronounced duty. And she put together this website kind of just out of a love for the aspect of bands who want to DIY and tour this way. And so pretty much what it is you can go to dodiy.com. You could select what state you're looking for, and it's just a list of places that are cool with helping out other bands. Now, there are some areas that don't have much. Last time I checked Alaska, their page was a little light, so Alaska people get on it. But when that fails, that's when you got to get a little more creative. A good place to start is small music venues in whatever city you're looking for. Sure. And that's a good Google search. Some places are weird. Apparently the House of Blues, Cleveland, is considered a small venue when I Googled it.
Right, yeah.
But, and that's where it's just you gotta be tenacious, and you gotta look through, and you also have to have a bit of harsh honesty with yourself of where you will do okay.
Sure. And it's always better to play a smaller venue with more people in it than the other way around.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want a 500 cap venue and then bring 10 people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that's where I start kind of at a, ideally a 50 to 100 cap venue for your first show in a place that's completely foreign to you is great.
Yeah.
Listening rooms are great. House shows. I just played a house show in Tacoma, Washington.
Yeah.
It was a place called The Gravel Pit. And if you go look up their Instagram, it says The Gravel Pit. And then under it just says, home of the punk rock petting zoo. It was awesome.
And you were like, that's the
I was
place
like,
for
I'm
me.
in. I didn't want to do any more research. I wanted to be surprised. And I was. It was great. There were chickens and ducks and all this
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
It was really
I thought it was just like punks. You
You
pet.
could just pet the punk. That's where like some people were like, it's probably something sexual. And I was like, yikes. But yeah,
the punk rock heavy petting zoo.
right. It's but yeah, it's just kind of that understanding of, if I want this to be a job, you have to do the job aspect of it.
Yeah.
And for me, I've found joy in that. I found it's a lot like the difference between like the kids today with like the weed cartridges things and the old school people who break down weed. I enjoy the process of breaking down weed.
No,
The
I
same
got
way
you.
I enjoy the process of booking,
Well,
I
that's to
like,
do with.
it's that dopamine hit of that one yes.
Sure, yeah.
When that
Oh,
yes
for
comes
sure.
in.
And it's to do with, it's something that came to me relatively late in my life, but it's to do with your approach to things, your attitude. You can approach things being like, oh, this is such a big chore, or you can approach things being like, I'm grateful and happy to do this, and it's all to do with the way you look at what you're doing. Perspective is everything in life.
Definitely, and it's easy to get discouraged in this type of game. That's the way I look at it. Is this is a game where if you want to win, all that takes is just more effort.
Yeah.
And that's where, as much as I want my songs to kind of be the shining part of my music, I kind of know that tenacity is also up there with talent.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's and we've talked about this on the show quite a bit. I mean, winning or making it, like the winning, you talk about perspective. It's all in perspective,
Right.
like you're saying, if you want to win at this game, you have to keep at it. But what's winning? Like,
Right.
is winning one of your songs taking off and getting an album deal and touring the world and playing Wembley Stadium? Sure.
Yeah.
But is winning you doing these back-to-back Amtrak tours and stuff and having a great time and seeing the world? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even if you did do sort of like super commercially well, you look back on those times very fondly.
Yeah. Well, and that's where, for me, goal setting is definitely important in any aspect in life. But there's some people whose goals might be to win a Grammy or to, I don't know, do kids want to be on MTV anymore? I don't think so.
Is MTV even a thing
I don't
anymore?
know. I don't know.
think
I don't
they
watch
just do,
cable.
like reality TV on there now and stuff like that.
Whatever. Kids are dumb. But like for me, like that's where my goals are set in a way that it's not based really on success.
Sure.
It's based on adventure almost, where it's like
That's excellent.
My
The
goals
road
are, yeah,
is the goal.
My goals are I want to play in every state. I'll never say that I'm a national touring artist until I've played in every state.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like it'd be a cool title to be like, oh no, I earned this title.
Yeah.
And for someone to question it and be able to pull out a map and be like, well, I've played in every state, so yeah, I'm a national. Like that.
I
Those
like that,
kind
man.
of
I
things.
like that approach.
And that's where and I've heard this is actually something that I've mainly heard from English people, thinking in the moment of doing something, knowing that this is going to be a great story for when I'm the old guy at the pub.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my English friends will always be like, "Yep, one day I'm going to tell this story at a pub."
Yeah.
And that's how I've thought a lot about a lot of my touring experience has been like, this is going to be a great pub
It's
story.
absolutely true. It's just living your life, getting experience. So another thing that you guys have been doing in terms of the touring is you made a documentary about it.
Yes.
And could you tell us a little bit about what that's all about?
Yeah, I definitely didn't help in any way of the production.
I tried, but the thing I tried to do wasn't very successful, so we won't talk about that.
Yeah, I just threw out the excuse. I don't have a Mac, guys. Sorry. But no, so Justin and Ricky have mainly been handling that. But so last year, my friends, the Shake and I, we did a tour where I was just the acoustic opener. And that's also when I started tour managing them. And
Oh, you were tour managing that? I didn't realize.
yeah, so I tour managed for them. And it just kind of worked out at the time because I was looking to be on the road a lot more, and so were they. And it just made sense to have us be a package of I could open the shows acoustic. Now, in theory, if we were to tour again, we'd even be able to do 2 full band shows because Joe from the Shake has filled in on bass before. So one day that might happen. But yeah, so on this last tour, we did an East Coast run. It was the first time that either of us as musicians had done a run like this. And we got an RV, and we went all the way up to, we were supposed to play in Boston, and went all the way up to Massachusetts and back. And it was 16 days in an RV. Justin from LMC came with us.
Yeah, Justin, the man behind the curtain. He's here right now, actually.
The voice of God.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just an amazing tour, and the work that Justin and Ricky have put into editing all the video, just the hours and hours of
It looks great.
of
I've seen some,
content. Yeah, it looks phenomenal, and I'm so excited for people to see it and to kind of see specifically how our camp kind of does on the road. You know, I think that, you know, me and the Shake have, for one thing, we have a great working relationship together, but we also have a very kind of unique camp as far as, you know, like we're not like crazy party guys. Like, I mean, I'll stay out and hang out at the party, but like I'm not getting wasted all the time anymore or at all anymore, you know, and neither are any of the guys in Shake. So it's
nice to get past that in a way, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky was in bed by 11 o'clock most nights on the tour.
Yeah,
you know, and then we'd stay up and play poker till 4 a.m. But you know, other than that, that was as rowdy as we really got.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where it's great being on the road with those guys. They're fantastic musicians, and I think what the documentary encapsulates is that DIY mentality of like, look what we just made, a documentary in an RV on an East Coast tour. We don't have any funding, we don't have representation management, we don't have any of that. We're just musicians with computers who can email people.
Sure.
You know, we even on that tour, I think there were some venues, I think it was New York, that's still booked by phone.
Yeah.
You had to call them and
from back in the
book
day,
them,
it was
you
all
know?
that kind of like DIY punk scene in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. That's like, you know, there's a magazine where there used to be like an index in the back where it was
What was it
literally,
called? Oh
it
my
was just
God.
like book your life.
Yeah,
It was like book your own life, and it just had a list of promoters, and that's kind of what Do DIY is now.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's other, also back to what other people should look at for touring. There's other Facebook groups too. DIY music is definitely not dead in any sense. You know, there's bands that are looking to tour and that are looking to play with you when you come to their hometown and stuff. You know,
have you so you mentioned that the website Do DIY, which I'll definitely take a look at now because we're still booking a couple things for that October tour, so I'll definitely take a look at that. But have you ever looked at a website called Andii on the Move?
Yes. Andii on the Move was a great idea. And the problem with great ideas on the internet is that they quickly become
Expensive ideas.
very expensive ideas.
Yeah. So Andii on the Move has all these package levels and things, and they do have all these things, and you know, like they'll even book the tour for you for X dollars and all that kind of stuff. But from a DIY standpoint, I've just used like their free account.
Yep.
I've like
Get the email address and cut out the middleman.
And it's real similar to that website you're talking about, where like I can go into any particular state, drill down to a specific city or a specific area. I can say what genres I want, whether I want them to be, you know, acoustic or full band. I can drill down, like I can filter out the size of the venues. I don't want anything above 200 people or 300 people or whatever. I can, you know, I can look for. I can filter out what days of the week they have music. Like there's a ton of things I can filter out, and then click, and suddenly there's like 18 venues or something, and if you have the pay account, you can send to all of them at one time, do kind of a pitch thing.
Yeah.
If you don't, it just gives you the contact information, but it does
Which
give you
is
the
fun,
contact.
and then
It
you can
does give you
still
the
do a
contact
pitch, you just
information.
not do
Yeah,
that.
that's the extent that I use it too. Is I have the free account.
It's
and
worked out
cut the middleman
really
out.
well for us. With this last tour we did when we went up to Memphis and stuff, I started hitting people and stuff. And the first city I started hitting was Memphis because we were going to be there for several days at Sun Studios recording. And like you were talking about House of Blues somewhere being like considered a small venue or whatever. I was hitting, all these small places, and just for shits and grins, I hit the Hard Rock up in Memphis on Beale Street, and they were the first ones to get back to me with a bona fide like hard cash offer of come and play 3 hours and we'll pay you this much money. There's no door deal, nothing. And I was like, how the fuck did we just book the Hard Rock as our first date for the tour?
I wonder if they book a lot of venues, a lot of bands like that.
Indie on the Move was definitely like the way to go for us.
Yeah, so there's and then there's a couple that are kind of loosely based on Indie on the Move. There's get-gigs.com. Which is a very similar setup. Its parameters of what you can filter out are a little limited, but yeah, and that's the resources are definitely out there. I personally feel like the less hands that you could have involved in it, the better.
For sure.
But that's where it's like, like we did the 2 Porta tour last September, and that was an East Coast run, and I've been working on some other things where it's like, oh, I need to book these shows. Well, I was there last year. Let me just text the guy now.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
And that's where it's kind of like that with the West Coast right now too, where I'm already thinking about when can I get back out to the West Coast, and it's just I'll just text the homies.
Yeah,
that's how this October.
You know what? The sooner the better, because you can keep those fresh. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's how this October tour. Like, we have a few dates or whatever already figured out. But there was a couple of dates we're going to be in Atlanta area, Marietta, Georgia, and I mean, we played there on the last tour, so I reached out to one of the venues we played there, and they were like, "We would love to have you back. Do you want Friday or do you want Saturday?" Like, it was just like, "Oh, this awesome."
Yeah.
It was that easy.
It's really like there was so the place that we played in Brooklyn called Heart Bar on the first Amtrak tour. I think we got that show initially because I think like they're just a cool and welcoming place, but the guy who booked for them was from Florida.
Oh,
and he's
cool.
like, "Oh, where in Florida are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, like East Coast." He's like, "Oh, I'm from the West Coast." I was like, "Oh, you guys suck." And he's like, "Oh, you guys suck." And then we had a show.
Yeah, nice.
And so now, looking to go back there, it was literally just a text message and be like, "Hey, I want to come back sometime." And
Yeah.
and it's like anytime you guys want, and having that connection with people, across the country is really cool.
It's nice.
Yeah, for
And
It's
then
eye-opening too. You learn a little bit about, just about all sorts of things.
Yeah, and that's where it's like, I do like, if you look at the old business model of the music industry where it was like make a record, tour the record to sell the record.
Yeah. Not really that anymore.
It's not really that, but you can and should still use touring to promote your music.
Sure.
Now, Spotify, we all know, doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
But what I've found is that like there is that culture of we want vinyl or we want to have this physical thing that we just saw.
Yeah.
And so that's like I sold out of CDs on the Amtrak tour.
Yeah. We do okay on CDs. We sell a couple every weekend, 3 or 4.
I used to have a joke where I was like, it makes a great coaster, or it's
Yeah, I do
it's a
that
clean
joke.
service for drugs.
We tell people if you don't have a CD player, buy 6. It makes a great set of coasters.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like I'm fully aware that more often than not, when somebody's buying a CD, it's to show support, and that's kind of where the idea of the sticker pack came from. I was like, let me give you something practical.
Yeah,
for $5.
you don't have to get something you're never ever gonna. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, I'll let you vandalize something.
Yeah, there you go.
But that's where it's using the tours to, kind of create something that's sustainably churning out your listeners.
Yeah.
You know? And it's one thing that I've been having this conversation with quite a few people. Like the Beatles are the first ones I always go to with this. But if you look back to the time period of the Beatles, if you look at John, Paul, George, and Ringo, their job was to play music.
Yeah.
They didn't write all their songs. You know, they wrote a lot of them, and they're really, really good. But they didn't write all their songs. In the early days, they were playing covers and just recording them. But their job was to play music, and they were really good at it. Today, my job is to play music, to write music, to be a social media manager, to be a graphic designer, to be a tour booker, to be a tour manager, to be a shirt maker, to be a sticker maker. You know, it's just if you're going to go down this path in today's day and age, your job description has a lot more bullet points.
Yeah.
And that's something that
It's like you can do everything now, which is great, but you also have to do everything.
Right. Yeah, and it's something that, you know, it's definitely very easy to burn yourself out on that. But in the sense of when you're touring and when you're just diving into that and having to kind of be all hands on deck all the time, people see that. And that's kind of an admirable quality, I think, you know, where people are like, okay, well, if he's going to put in that much of himself to this, I might as well give him the time of day and listen.
Yeah, totally. So, we didn't get round to asking you what the song you played was about. Can you tell us a little bit about that song?
Yeah, so Off the Floor is that's a newer tune that will probably be on album 3. There's 2 sort of things in the pipeline right now, and that's kind of one of the ones where we're not sure where it's gonna fall. But yeah, that was kind of a song of being like understanding that, you know, like when I stopped drinking, for instance, it was something that I didn't want to encompass all of my songwriting.
Oh my God, I wrote so many songs about it. I've put a cap on it now.
That's where it was like I had For Life and I had Haunted Halls, and a lot of that whole album of For Life was, you know, I remember the press, you know, circuit for that album and kind of every interview being like, it's not a recovery album. It's not a recovery album. But now, like, here almost a year later, it's a recovery album.
What are you going to do, though? I mean, it's your life, you know.
Right. And so...
I just kind of embraced it. I was like, it is what, you know.
Right. And so that's where, looking at it with that lens now and trying to write about it, I think with Off the Floor, the context of that was, you know, like, understanding that even if you change the worst quality of yourself, it doesn't make you perfect.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of shit to work on.
Oh, for sure.
And that's where, you know, like, it's just for a period of time when you, after stopping drinking, they talk about the pink cloud, you know, and I feel there's people who say you could stay on this pink cloud as long as you want and like all this type of stuff. And
do you remember that little phrase that they say that, you know, they came to AA for the drinking and stayed for the thinking?
Right.
Yeah. It's that stuff.
You know, and that's like, and there's definitely, there's a lot about sober living that was so foreign to me that was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's when, like, that's when now in a sober mind, I'd realize, I'm like, oh, I'm uncomfortable in this situation. And every decision I've made in like the past 5 minutes has been pretty self-destructive. Should be aware of that, you know, and that type of thing. And that song Off the Floor kind of came relatively quickly of just like, you know, I thought I was done fucking up, you know, but now it's almost like I'm just starting to fuck up because now I remember them.
Now you're more aware of it now.
Right, exactly. You know, I'm more self-aware, absolutely. So, but yeah, I think that was a nice way for me to get out on paper and kind of be like, oh, okay, so this is where everything lies right now. And kind of a springboard to what's to come for the next release.
Oh yeah, and then talking about next things, the thing that we like to do last on here is talk about what you got coming up, what's in the future. You have any gigs planned? Do you have any recordings planned? Like what's coming?
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. First off will be the 2 Ported Tour documentary that'll be coming out. The trailer will be coming out, I believe, July 1st, and then the first episode will actually be coming out the 31st of July.
Yeah. Okay.
And that'll be on LMC's YouTube channel, and then I'll be sharing it. The Shake will be sharing it.
I'll be sharing it.
You guys will be doing what, like a couple episodes at a time or something, or?
I believe it's one a week, maybe one every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Not 100%, but it'll definitely be some sort of either weekly or bi-weekly thing.
And there's 608 episodes. Is that correct?
There's 2 years worth of episodes. Strap in. Other than that, we've got the Andii Styron tour coming up in October, which the Killbillies will be joining us for a couple of
For
shows.
a couple
so
of dates,
excited.
man. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited, man.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to get Andii on the road. She's one of those musicians where she's so talented, and then she'll be like, I don't think I hit this note. And it's like, shut the fuck up. You just slayed the entire song, like, calm down. So I'm very excited to get her out on the road because I think more people need to see her and be aware of her.
Yeah, for sure.
We are, I do have a song that has garnered some raised eyebrows called Fuck Florida.
Oh yeah, I thought that was great. I got the hat.
Yeah, so some people see the hat and are immediately like, politics. You know, there was one person who commented on my Instagram, and I try. It's pretty much, and it's like I try and not be. I just don't like being confrontational, especially online. I feel like it's just you never look like the winner.
Yeah,
and
I had to be careful too because I'm not even from Florida. So if people see me wearing it, you know, it's a bit.
Well, it's funny. So I have my friends are in this band called Pet Needs from Colchester.
Okay.
And they were just down here at Culture Room, and I gave them like some of the Fuck Florida merch, and they're like, man, we can't wear this right now. But yeah, so there was one lady who commented on my Instagram, and the comment was something along the lines of like, is this song about new gender or politics or 20, like just a whole bunch of stuff. And it's not. It's a silly song about me having to explain that I'm from Florida everywhere I go.
Yeah.
But for her, I wrote back, yes. And just left it. But yeah, people feel, you know, and it was definitely meant to be a provocative song, so I don't necessarily,
Sure, yeah.
I'll take, you know, the bad with the good.
It's the punk in the folk punk. There you go.
Yeah, you know, you gotta stir the pot every now and again, or else it's just a pot. And,
Exactly.
so we're working on that. That will have a release date soon. It's pretty close to being done. And then album 3 is what we're working on. I'm still kind of going down with the ship when it comes to albums. Like I've not really ever been like the Spotify single guy. You know, like
Okay.
I think if you have
You're going down with the ship. I respect that.
if you got 12 songs and it is one creative journey, it's an album. And
You know, I think that's refreshing because no one's thinking like that anymore, including me. But when I'm doing this Scar thing, I'm going to release each tune on its own and then release them all together at the end. But I love the fact that you're sticking with the album, man. Someone's got it, and you're right. It's a better way to listen to music. That's for sure.
I think, you know, for the type of music that I enjoy, you know, where I like the storytelling aspect of things, you know, an album is essentially just like a giant story where it just continually gets smaller, where it's like you've got the album where you have the beginning, middle, end, but then you could go down to the songs where you have a beginning, middle, end,
like an
or
onion.
a verse. There's layers and stuff.
Yeah.
That is to say, you know, there are some ideas that I've been having about how to exist in the world of online music. I don't know if I'm going to be as rash as, you know, like originally I thought about targeting specific distributions with a song. So
Interesting.
Fuck Florida gets a music video for YouTube. Another song gets a single on Spotify. Another song gets a TikTok video. The only place you can get them all is on the physical album.
Right. Yeah.
That was an idea. I think that might be a little extreme, but I feel like they're. If I'm gonna go down with the ship, I'm dragging people with me, and that means that there may have to be some sort of exclusivity to the album. You know, if I want somebody to whether it be get the physical copy or listen to it front to back, there has to be something other than the promise of a Dominic Delaney song. Yeah. So there's some things trying to figure that out. One of the things I love that Ricky says is like when he'll kind of go to you and be like, "Hey, just so you know, Spotify does not validate or invalidate you as an artist."
He said that to me before as well, and I respect it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's nice to hear,
Yeah.
and it's something that it's kind of like when people are mad at you online, be like, everybody's mad at me on Twitter. Just close your phone and then be like, who?
Yeah, exactly.
Who is mad at you? Nobody in this room
Well, the
is
thing with
yelling at you.
Spotify that I've always found hilarious is, like, I'm one that doesn't ever listen to Spotify. I listen to
I'm not a
Apple
Spotify
Music.
guy.
I listen to Apple Music in my car, on my phone, everything, because I'm an Apple guy. And then at home we've got the Alexa or whatever. So we listen.
Amazon, yeah.
We listen to Prime Music on
Right.
there, Amazon. So I don't ever listen to Spotify ever. So, if I have a song on Spotify and it has like 8 listens instead of 100,000, does that not make me,
Right.
because there could be 100,000 other people like me that don't ever listen to Spotify. So I don't, the whole Spotify thing, I just allude. I don't
There's a
discount
side of it
it.
that's an illusion, but it is relatively.
I don't discount it, but I don't disagree with Ricky. Spotify does
Yeah.
not make the musician, for sure.
Yeah.
No. And again, people could be looking at their Spotify numbers going like, oh man, I've got 30,000, listens or whatever. And meanwhile, they're not even looking. They might have 800,000 listens on Apple, and they're not even taking a look at it.
Right. Yeah, and that's where it's like for instance, For Life's about to hit 100,000 streams on the whole album, and it's funny because July 2nd, the first album, Marrow in My Bones, was released September 16th, 2021, and that July 2nd, it hit 100,000 streams.
Yeah.
I really want to fucking beat that first album to 100,000 streams just to beat the
Sure.
bullshit label. But that's where it's kind of at the same time it's like who cares? Like and it's also it's kind of like one of the things where it's like, well, now I have to celebrate this thing just to show you people that I'm celebrating this thing.
Yeah.
And that's where it just kind of becomes silly to me. And
Well, there's still something to be happy about, though. You've done great. That's a lot of streams. So, congratulations.
Thank you. And it is something I'm proud of and stuff, and to do it independently and,
Absolutely.
with this album that was just kind of made in our practice space and stuff. It is very cool. But there was a period of time, and it was mainly with the first album, where I'd find myself stressing about Spotify streams.
Yeah,
and that's where
I've been there.
That's where I just don't stress about it anymore. And that's where it's like, if we don't hit the 100,000 before July 2nd, it'll happen.
So listen, Tom, you got any gigs coming up people need to know about?
Yeah, so this month is looking pretty cool. I know on the 16th, I've got a show down at Ginger's. That'll be Billy Doom Is Dead, Young Cassidy, The Shake, and us.
That
sounds great.
July 22nd, Punk Rock Flea Market at Matthews in Lake Worth. We are playing that with 8 other
And
awesome
that's the
punk
Fort
rock
Pierce
bands.
crew that have come down to Lake
Yeah,
Worth.
so
isn't it?
they
That's
do
cool.
the Fort Pierce Punk Rock Flea Market, and they're bringing it down here to Lake Worth.
I love that.
Billy Doom Is Dead's going to be on that again. I know Blabscam, The Shake, Fwakata, a lot of the homies, and some new homies as well. And then we have our first night at Double Roads, which will be the 25th, and that'll be The Shake and myself. And so that's what July's looking like.
Sounds sick. So we got Victoria Lee's wedding on Friday the 30th of June, which will be a lot of fun. We're playing that at 7:30. It's at Guanabana. I'm pretty sure that anyone can get in there. So
I think it's open to the public.
Yeah, so if you want to come see us play at Guanabana, we'll be there at 7:30. And then on Saturday, we are playing a private party, which will be a lot of fun. It's like a 4th of July party on the 1st. Then on Sunday, I am playing at Cork in Hobe Sound. So if you want to come and listen to me playing some solo jams, come to Cork at Hobe Sound. It's a real chill little spot. So if you've never been there, come check it out. And that's about it. You got anything you want to share with?
No, unfortunately, the podcast will drop after we've already played Clematis by Night. But we are playing Clematis by Night this week.
I know.
Or we will have just played Clematis by Night this week when you're listening to this podcast. But
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, me too, man. It'd be fun.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
It was really fun.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, thank
And
you guys for having me.
Thanks for dressing up in your badass purple suit.
I know. Your next guest has some
Step it up now.
Yeah,
big shoes to fill.
No doubt. All right, man. Thank you very much, and we'll see you later.